series potentially on my channel. We're going to be talking about an entire decade of NBA basketball. I kind of got this idea from like an open court segment. If you don't know that TV show they used to have on NBA TV, but they have a lot of different basketball topics they talk about a lot. And they did this thing about talking about each and every NBA decade. And I thought it'd be kind of cool if I did that. So I'm going to do a little rundown of, the champions of the 2000s, the MVPs of the 2000s, some of the top players of the 2000s, my own favorite moments and experiences of the 2000s basketball. I thought it'd be kind of cool. You can also obviously comment down below maybe some of your favorite players of the 2000s or some of your favorite moments of the 2000s. And obviously we can do this for every decade, the 2010s, the 1990s, 80s, whatever you guys want to do. I think this would be kind of cool to just sit back, relax, and reminisce on some good old 2000s basketball. Also, yes, we do have some more super shoutouts to go through. Thank you to everyone who ever does a super shoutout. It does mean so much to me. I think quite obviously we can give a big ol' like and support it down in the comments too. The Flamboyant Pickle is just absolutely the MVP, the GOAT, the absolute legend. It's funny because he's like his own, or they're like their own, some sort of celebrity down in the comments. I absolutely love you, Flamboyant Pickle. Don't worry guys, me and Flamboyant Pickle, we email back and forth, we're good. I think they understand my appreciation for them. I absolutely adore them. Thank you so much, Flamboyant Pickle. Also, thank you so much to John Pizza down in the comments as well. Thank you so much, John. Everything is just, it's been so crazy the past couple of weeks, the support you guys have been giving me, not only with obviously the super comments, which is one of my favorite things to do now, just to show some support back to you guys, but also just the anything, just watching a video, giving a like. You guys have been going absolutely crazy. I cannot wait to do a giveaway because you guys definitely deserve it, and you guys are just literally the best human beings out there. I cannot thank you guys enough. You guys are just the best. I think that's everything. A like, subscribe, and thank you to the super commenters, and yeah, I think we can finally get started. Alright everyone, so the decade we are going to be discussing in tonight's video are the NBA 2000s. Yes, the 2000s of the NBA. It should be very fun to talk about because, at least me personally, the 2000s of the NBA from 2000, well I guess technically 1999 to the season of 2009 to 2010, have some of the best NBA talent the NBA has ever seen, and it is so much fun to even discuss that tonight with you guys. So I think I'm just going to be whispering some of the NBA champions, then maybe some of the MVPs, some of the All-Stars, some of the best players, and just have a nice little chit-chat, quick little video for you guys. I think this should be very nice. So, in the year 1999-2000, I guess the season, I guess you could say, definitely a super team was starting to form and come together, and that would be Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant, which, if we are talking about the 2000s of the NBA, you pretty much have to go to them first because they were the dynasty of the 2000s, that is for sure. At least the Lakers, at least in my opinion, my vote for a team of the decade would 1000% have to be the LA Lakers with Kobe, with Shaq. Absolutely a unstoppable dynamic duo back in the day. They won the title in the year 1999-2000, beating the Indiana Pacers, which was quite a surprising team back then. The East definitely wasn't the East after, obviously, in the 90s, Michael Jordan retiring. The year prior, the New York Knicks made the finals. Then the Indiana Pacers, not the greatest talent, some good teams, but nothing super competitive alongside of, Kobe, Shaq, I guess you could say. The MVP of that finals was Shaquille O'Neal. 2000, 2001, yes, you can guess again, it is Kobe and Shaq's LA Lakers squad going up against the Philadelphia 76ers and Allen Iverson, which is one of the most iconic moments probably in finals history because, again, sort of like how we remember even playing field. There was no super team, I guess you could say, at that time period, which is kind of nice to think about. But obviously, with the Knicks, Indiana, this the 76ers, the Nets, it's kind of cool to see a different team every couple of years sort of come out and just make it out of the playoffs for the East. Obviously, in nowadays NBA in the 2020s, we all sort of get the idea of like, okay, well, there's like 2 or 3 teams that are definitely going to make it. It seems like back then it was more of a toss-up, I guess you could say, because obviously the talent was a lot more even during that time period. Yes, the Lakers won in 2001, 2002. Shaq being again the Finals MVP. But then going up into 2002, 2003, the San Antonio Spurs made the NBA Finals, dethroning the Los Angeles Lakers during that time period, taking on again the New Jersey Nets 4-2. So I actually don't know what happened at this entire season. I don't know why the Lakers didn't make it to the finals. If you have any idea, make sure you comment it down below. Obviously, the Spurs back in the 2000s, you could definitely also argue being the team of the decade. They were super talented, obviously, with Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, Greg Popovich. The list goes on and on. Very good team, very well coached. Yeah, just an amazing squad that was really built together as more as a team play team than a juggernaut dynamic duo like Shaq and Kobe. Then 2003, 2004, we have the Pistons. Yes, the iconic Pistons upsetting the LA Lakers. 2003, 2004 NBA Finals with your boy Big Shot Chauncey Billups winning Finals MVP, upsetting the Lakers 4-1. It's not like it was a close series. The absolute team play and team defense of the Detroit Pistons just demolished and demoralized the LA Lakers during that time period. I think that was the year the Lakers had like Karl Malone and they had Gary Payton. They had a bunch of, I don't want to say has-been legends, but definitely some players that definitely weren't the players they used to be. But it was really cool to see that. That's for sure. That to be one of the most iconic NBA Finals of all time. The following year in 2004, 2005, I think after that year, that's when Kobe and Shaq broke up. Very sad, humongous news in the NBA. Shaq ended up going to the Miami Heat, which is definitely a big surprise. But obviously, Shaq loves the sort of spotlight. Obviously, going to another big time franchise, Miami, would be a nice, I guess, change up for him. And obviously, Kobe getting the Lakers all to himself as his own franchise was also, a pretty big deal for his own self-growth and how he became, the player we all know him to be today, which is very, very, very cool to see. The San Antonio Spurs ended up beating the Detroit Pistons, who started to come out to be more of the dominant team of the Eastern Conference during those about like a 3-year span, which also was really cool to see. Obviously, Detroit nowadays is definitely down in the dumps, but back then they were definitely the team to beat, beating Detroit 4-3. This was definitely the closest NBA Finals they have seen in the NBA, probably since the Michael Jordan Utah Jazz series. So it's been a very long time since they've seen some actual competition in the NBA Finals. No offense to anyone else, but yeah, it was a very close 4-3 series with Tim Duncan taking home the Finals MVP. In the year 2005, 2006, Shaquille O'Neal makes a reappearance in the NBA Finals, but not as the head guy. As if you don't know, this is where Dwayne Wade makes his sort of big splash in the NBA, going off for I think around 28 points per game during this NBA Finals. Just an absolute insane performance from a very young D Wade, making him Finals MVP, which a lot of people thought Shaq was, a little bit older, but thought he was, saving himself for the NBA Finals. And when it came time to be, it just didn't happen. And D Wade was the guy who actually stepped up and became the guy, and actually came back from being down 2-0 to 4-0 sweep the Dallas Mavericks during that time period. But absolutely insane Finals performance from D Wade, that's for sure. In 2006, 2007, we had the San Antonio Spurs beating the Cleveland Cavaliers, which was the Cleveland Cavaliers team that was led by LeBron James that showing up from the Cleveland Cavaliers, I'll tell you that. Then in 2007, 2008, we had the first appearance of the Boston Celtics Big Three making a big splash into the NBA, leading that team to an NBA Finals victory over the LA Lakers, led by, again, a more mature, ready by himself superstar in Kobe Bryant. Paul Pierce ended up winning the Finals MVP for that year. 2008 to 2009. Interesting that a big three in the NBA didn't make the finals. It feels like we see that all the time and now at today's NBA, but the Orlando Magic actually came to be, and with Dwight Howard as a crazy center at that time period, maybe being the best one during this time period, leading him all the way to the finals, but ended up losing to the LA Lakers 4-1 with Kobe being the finals MVP. So there are a couple big main theme sort of things you can see throughout this entire championship run of the 2000s. Definitely a lot of Lakers, definitely a lot of Spurs. Those are definitely the two teams that were probably the best teams of the 2000s. You could definitely argue which ones were better or this or that. Definitely kind of interesting. That's definitely more of today's kind of brand of basketball. But what's also even more interesting is the diversity of the Eastern Conference. Like I said, you had the Heat, the Pistons, the Celtics. You had a little splash of the New Jersey Nets even during this time period. It's really cool to see the different teams rise and fall over the years. Again, nowadays in the NBA, it's either that team or this team or this team or that team. It's very, you pretty much have a good idea of who's going to the NBA Finals during this time period. Now, obviously, I'm sure injuries and all those things happen as well, like they do nowadays. But it is kind of cool to see that really cool diversity, I guess you can say, besides teams having 2-3 year title runs. As now, back then it was every other year. It was a different sort of finals matchup, which is really cool to see. But yeah, I think now we can start talking about the regular season MVPs. I think that'd be kind of cool to take a look at. Shaq being the first MVP of the league in the year in the season 1999 to the year 2000, averaging 30 points per game and 14 rebounds and 3 blocks. It's just one of the most dominant ones we've seen in the past handful of NBA years. Shaq during that time period was just an absolute beast of an animal. We'll get into the top 10 of this decade later on in the video, but I just wanted to get through the MVPs real quick. Then we have Allen Iverson being pretty much the star that he started to become to be in the year 2001. Definitely took the NBA by storm, leading a team to the NBA Finals. Obviously coming up short, but just that even story of the David versus the Goliath type of storyline with Allen Iverson. It was really cool to see that sort of play out in the NBA, averaging 31 points per game. Absolutely an insane scoring output that he had. And then people forget this. Back to back regular season MVP Tim Duncan from the year 2001 to 2003 was the NBA's MVP. People forget about that a lot. Averaging 25 and 13, 23 and 13, averaging pretty much 3 blocks a game as well for both those seasons. People just forget how amazing Tim Duncan was, just because, he's just a system player, he's a boring player to watch, this and that. Tim Duncan was an absolute beast, definitely underrated player. 2003, 2004, we actually found MVP in Minnesota, which that's crazy to think about, but yes, Kevin Garnett won his first and only MVP in Minnesota that year. Definitely really cool to see that. Another back-to-back MVP, one that's definitely more controversial, is Steve Nash, winning from the years 2004 to 2006. Those seasons, I guess I should say. Played very interesting basketball. His first MVP season, he only averaged 15 points and 11.5 assists a game, which, is that an MVP stat line? I don't know. And then the following year, he averaged 18 points and 10.5 assists as well. I get it that he was on a very great team, a very great offense, everything like that. He played a very flashy, high, sort of season. Obviously, this was, arguably LeBron's couple best years in the NBA, still being in Cleveland, but still really, really starting to show that, hey guys, I'm the best player in the NBA, I'm the best player in the world, look at me go. And it was really the 2010s, the start of the NBA's dominance with LeBron James, but we'll get into that when we do talk about the NBA 2010s decade. So now we're actually going to be doing a top 10 style of video now, just talking about, it's not video, segment of this video, talking about the top 10 players of the 2000s. Now, this is obviously a list, and it's really cool because they take the stats averaging of the years spanning from the years 2000 to the year 2009, so I don't have to do the own calculations. It's already done, so that's really cool to see. So, kind of controversially, they have Dirk Nowitzki at number 10. I don't really believe that, but in the years 2000 to 2009, he averaged 23.6 points per game, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, and 40% shooting from 3. Yes, Dirk Nowitzki shot 40% in the 2000s era. Super crazy to think about that. He was a 2007 MVP, 8-time All-Star, 4-time All-NBA first team member as well. A very dominant player. He definitely played more team basketball than selfish basketball, so he didn't really get a bunch of the accolades and everything here and there, but he definitely still won an MVP, so it's definitely still amazing for Dirk Nowitzki to be on the list. Also, they have Jason Kidd on the list as well. In the 2000s, he averaged 14 points, 9 assists, 7 rebounds, 2 steals a game. He was a 7-time All-Star. There's a mistype. It says here he is a 7-time All-Star and a 4-time All-Star. I think they made 4-time All-NBA team member, maybe. I'm not entirely sure, but definitely really cool. He also led the league in assists 4 times in the 2000s. That's a big goal. That's definitely super sick. They have Steve Nash as well at number 8 on the list, which is kind of funny because he is a back-to-back MVP. How is he number 8? It's because it's Steve Nash, very controversial player during that time period. Averaged in the 2000s 16 points, 9 assists on 44% shooting from 3 during the decade. Holy cow. Like I said, 2-time MVP, 6-time All-Star, 3-time All-NBA team member as well. At number 7, you have Dwayne Wade averaging 25 points, 7 assists, and 5 rebounds during the 2000s, nearly shooting 50% from the field for the entire decade. That is absolutely insane. He was a champion in the year 2006, also Finals MVP for that year as well. Definitely should have won at least one MVP during his time period. Look up some D-Wade stats, look at some D-Wade highlights. This man was a different breed during this time period. He was just a boss of a player. Also led the league in scoring in 2009, only playing 5 years during that decade as well, already being nearly top 5 of the decade. Definitely high praise for sure. At number 6, they actually have LeBron James kind of low on this list, averaging for the decade 28 points per game, 7 rebounds, and 7 assists, nearly 2 steals a game as well. Then again, just like D-Wade, coming out of the same draft, only playing in the decade for 5 years, was the 2009 MVP, 5-time All-Star, 2-time All-Star Game MVP during that time period as well. That's really cool. He led the league in scoring as well in 2008. Really, really, really cool to see that. And also was a 3-time All-NBA first team member. I guess you could argue him being a little bit higher up on this list, but again, I can see why, because he was only in the league for 5 years, so you couldn't really judge him that hard, I guess. At number 5, they have Allen Iverson, who averaged during the decade 28 points, 6 assists, and 2 steals a game. People forget how great of not much of an all-ball defender Allen Iverson was, but definitely playing the passing lanes, being very smart, playing off the dribble of players. He was very crafty with the way he would defend, which was really cool to see. Was the MVP in 2001, 10-time All-Star, 3-time scoring champ in the NBA. Holy smokes. Kevin Garnett up on the list, averaging for the decade 21 points, 12 rebounds, and almost 2 blocks a game. Was the MVP in the year 2004, was a champion in 2008, 10-time All-NBA team, 10-time player. Tim Duncan is super underrated. And this one is quite controversial as well. They have Shaq here at number 2, not number 1, number 2, averaging for the decade 23 points, 11 rebounds, and 2 blocks on nearly 60% from the field. Wow. Now, Shaq definitely in the latter half of the decade fell off super fast, but as we talked about earlier on in the decade, Shaq was just an unstoppable beast. It's kind of hard to see that at the beginning of the decade where he ended the decade on. It's kind of sad to see, but that's kind of how the cookie crumbled, I guess, for Shaq. He was a 4-time champion, though, 3-time Finals MVP, was the MVP in the year 2000, 9-time All-Star. Let's see, he actually led the league in scoring as well in the year 2000, which is super crazy to think about. And he's 7-time All-NBA team member, and yes, that means at number 1, they have Kobe Bryant as the best player of the decade. Is that what you think? Comment it down below what you think. Averaging for the years of the 2000s, 28 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists, nearly 2 steals a game as well, on 46% shooting for the entire decade. Wow, that's crazy. 4-time champion, a Finals MVP in the year 2009, was the MVP in 2008, 10-time All-Star, so was an All-Star for basically all 10 years. The entire decade was an All-Star Game MVP 3 times as well. 2-time scoring champ, was a 7-time All-NBA team member as well. Holy cow. That's crazy. So, do you believe that? Do you believe that Kobe Bryant, even though had a very slow start coming into the 2000s, was the best player of the 2000s? That's kind of hard to think about. I mean, if you want to talk about longevity, I mean, you could definitely make a great case for Tim Duncan for how well he played for the 2000s. I mean, he was dominating in the early 2000s. He was still a very great player in the later of the 2000s. But man, that's crazy. Some other sort of notable names they have here. They had, Ben Wallace, obviously being arguably the best defender of the decade, being a crazy defender for his height for the center position. Yao Ming, Tracy McGrady, Jermaine O'Neal. Who else was there? Gilbert Arenas was a good player back in the day as well. Let's see. Paul Pierce. Obviously, can't talk about Boston basketball without talking about Paul Pierce. You could argue Dwight Howard, but definitely Dwight was coming more as a great player, as we saw later on in the 2000s to the 2010 era. That's for sure. They talk about Vince Carter, Chris Webber. I wouldn't say they were the best of the best. Chauncey Billups was a good player for a handful of years, even Tony Parker as well. So a lot of great players during the 2000 era. One of my favorite decades of basketball. I love this era. Definitely has some very great memories, I guess. So yeah, guys, that's it for me. That is the NBA of the 2000s. Now, if you guys want to comment down below some other things you want to talk about during the decades series we're going to be going on, if you guys do show some support on this video, we can talk about, NBA All-Star games. We could go more into depth on some surprise players. Maybe we could talk more about my favorite players of the decade, things like that. But I think talking about the champions, the MVPs, the top 10 players really gives a good sort of detailing on the decade now was, who was dominating at the time and things like that. But definitely let me know some other things you guys would like to know about the decades that we're going to be going through. Maybe comment down below what decade you want to see next. Should we do the 90s to 2010s? Maybe we should get rid of the 80s and 70s.